Hey, Pete. This is Jared Yates Sexton, and I just want to call and say congratulations on 500 episodes. You are, without a doubt, one of the hardest working people out there, and it is appreciated and seen. You're doing something very cool and very important here, and you're building up around you and your show just a lovely community of smart and passionate and kind people. Congratulations again. Good work, and Godspeed, brother.
Stand up.
And now, Stand Up community subscribers and listeners from around the globe. It's time to Stand Up with Pete Dominic, where we ask the important questions that impact you, your family, and your community. Such as, would buying my mother outdoor kitchenware for Christmas encourage her to speak to me again? And with the Omicron variant now spreading throughout professional sports leagues, does that mean I could catch COVID from borrowing my friend's jockstrap? And now, the podcast host who cranks on that Christmas tree stand like he's Captain Ahab steering the Titanic, Pete Dominic!
Yes, that is right. You've nailed me again, Pico. Actually, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know why you think I'm cranking on a tree stand. We've had no issues with the tree this year, and it sounds like somebody is projecting, my friend. Another great intro by the great Pete Co. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday show. I will be hosting a hangout tonight, and I'm very excited to see you because yesterday was a tougher 24 hours, as you might have known or heard. Maybe you didn't, but I took the day off. I needed a mental health day. I had some drama and some distractions that prevented me from feeling like I could do a good job last night. It was getting late, and I called it. And I said, I got to take a personal day, and then I went into the woods. I had a couple of really great conversations because I'm so fortunate to have great friends and an awesome brother, and felt a lot better and navigated some things, and I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'll stay gold, pony boy. That is me, and I am back with you, and I'm happy to be with you. Hope to see you tonight, and I got an awesome show for you today. I've got two awesome guests, David Feldman, and comedian David Feldman, who I had as always, eccentric, hilarious, and thought-provoking conversation. Very smart, very funny, and always original. I love talking to that guy. And also Wajahat Ali, who is one of your all-time favorites here. It's supposed to be Waj Wednesdays, but it's Thursday, and Waj joins me. And no news, because I am taking a couple days. I need some time away from the news, and it's just a barrel load of work to do every day, and it is Christmas week, and so I'm taking it a little easy. So a stand-up light episode today and tomorrow, and I've got tomorrow Jonathan Alter. I haven't heard back from Christian and Fira. Hopefully they'll be able to join me, at least one of them maybe, but I had an awesome conversation with Jonathan Alter, who you're going to love too, who is just an excellent guest. So thank you very much for tuning in today. Don't have much more to say other than if you need a day off, a mental health day, call it. Just call it. You say to yourself, I'm calling it. It's like changing pitchers. It's like deciding to forfeit the game. I got to call it. Can't do it. Can't get it done today. Need to go off in the woods or do whatever you need to do to clear your mind. And thank you for everybody who wrote nice comments about that when I tweeted and shared it on our Patreon page when I posted yesterday's post that I wouldn't be doing a show. Really nice, amazing group of people who are so supportive. Thank you very much. I love you guys. All right, so let's get on with it, and I hope to see you tonight. StandUpWithPete.com. If you aren't signed up to join us, sign up and join us and be a subscriber and part of this growing community and join our hangout tonight at 8 Eastern. I will be there. All right. David Feldman coming up, but first it's time to get to my conversation with Wajahat Ali. He is now over the Daily Beast, where he's a columnist, formerly a New York Times regular op-ed contributor, still contributes there from time to time. Also a contributor at CNN. You've seen him on MSNBC, and he's got an awesome new book coming out. Of course, we've talked about it a lot. We'll continue to talk about it as it's released January 25th, but you can pre-order it now. Go back to where you came from and other helpful recommendations on how to become American. He's on Twitter at Wajahat Ali. We love him. I love him. And he was there for me last night. I just want to say this. He's always been there for me. We've become very close, and I've always tried to be there for him when he's had his struggles, but we had a great conversation before I hit record. And then I accidentally hung up on him in the video chat. And that's where we start. Wajahat Ali. And a great jingle intro from Gareth Sever. Let's not forget that. Here we go.
He's Wajahat Ali. Got a book that comes out the 25th of January. Go back to where you came from. Do you mean where he got his name from? Lego abilities amaze until his wife stops his spending spree. He'll dismantle your political stance on a Zoom call in his jacket, shirt, and tie, and his underpants. His powers of thoughtful discussion bring nuanced perspective that can't help but draw us in. It's Wednesday, time for Wajahat Ali.
I connect with you, I dump my drama on you, and then I hang up on you.
Yeah, I was like, F you, Waj. I'm like, all right, it's fine. It's like all the women. That's when I was in the friend zone for like from the ages of like 10 to like 25. Yes. It's like the in case of emergency, break non-threatening penis, use, and then just jettison. I'm like, okay, I'll stay flaccid here and useless.
How long were you in the friend zone?
I used to, I don't know if I ever told you this, but apparently I used to suicide cockblock myself all the time. I'm like the Hall of Fame suicide cockblocker. Like I used to be like 1 inch away from QB sneaking into the vagine, and then I would run in the opposite direction for 100 yards. I'm like, oh God, no. And the woman would be like, what's wrong? I like you. I'm like, no, you don't. You just want to be friends. So I discovered women liked me at the age of like 20 in college. And then it took me like 5 years to realize, oh, they really do like me. And so up until the time I was like classic, self-neutered, really good guy friend who would not make a move, whom they could rely on. And the other ones really wanted me to make a move and I didn't. And so I suicide cockblocked. That was my amazing dating history.
I might not even, I'm going to share this and might decide to erase it because it's so embarrassing.
Do it.
And revealing. But I did like specific thing that was, as you call it, suicide cockblocking. I had a woman I was like really close with. She came home with me from college for New Year's. We made out all night. We go back to the house. She goes to the bathroom to get, cleaned up. While she's in the bathroom, I take off. I'm very new to sex and sexuality. I might have had sex like one time. I don't know. I'm new to it. I take off my clothes. And when she's coming back, I'm lying like on the bed, like naked, like weirdly. And she clearly was like, I'm good. And she went into the other bedroom in my parents' house and slept in a different room. I literally, I was there, and then I chose to...
You were too eager. You were too eager.
I got naked. I thought that's what you're supposed to do, which is...
A house is built through brick by brick.
Yes.
A journey is traveled step by step.
I learned that for the next time.
Like, oh, we've kissed? Well, hello there. Say hello to my naked genitals right after you've appeared from the bathroom without warning.
And by the way, that's one of those weird things where I think that for the guys who are good guys, like who, when a woman says no or gives them a signal no, that's how you know, like you don't, once you've turned them away, you don't keep pushing after that, I guess. I
think that's the sign of the good guy is like, instead of like being aggressive and then turning malicious against the woman, we just like beat ourselves up. We just beat ourselves up for like the next like 3 years. Like, oh God, I'm sorry. Then she's like, just stop being pathetic. Let it go. God, it's over. Move on.
Exactly.
These are the two extremes, like self-flagellation or creepy bro who becomes Justice Kavanaugh and sits on the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah. Well said. Oh, God. I read that Chris Noth story, the actor. Oof.
Oh, now there's like 3 women, right?
Yeah.
And this is right after he was in the Peloton ad.
Is that right?
Yes. Remember, so apparently I have not seen the new Sex and the City, but he was this character called Mr. Big and he dies. Spoiler alert. And apparently he dies through like Pelotoning. And then like the next couple of days later, Peloton had this genius idea to bring him to do the ad. And then like a day later, he gets hit with like all these sexual harassment allegations.
Yikes.
Which I've not read, but I heard it's just sleazy.
Yeah, well, 2 of them were pretty like standard rape, it would seem. Yeah, they're pretty well corroborated allegations, but they're also I think probably past the point that they could be prosecuted. Although I don't know. So it's just horrible to read and see it happening and.
But here's a question I want for you because I didn't know idea that Louis C.K. came out with a new stand-up special. It came out like yesterday, a couple of days ago, and everyone's been talking about cancel culture. But apparently, he was in the Madison Square Garden and he did this like self-released stand-up. He seems to be doing fine, man. Like I feel like, and of course, what he did is nowhere near atrocious as these allegations against Chris Noth. But it just seems like I'm just curious, like who gets to fail up, and like is there like what conduct?
I hate
what
to.
Conduct is so heinous that allows you to be completely canceled, and then what conduct allows you to like kind of slither back?
I have an answer for that, actually. I'm going on TV to talk about that tonight with Ashley Banfield, as a matter of fact, so I've been thinking about it. But I think, and I wonder what you think of this, obviously, there is no threshold for some people. Some people could be accused and prosecuted for rape of multiple women, and then when this is somewhat hypothetical, but it's not because Cosby is out of prison, and he's the perfect example, and he could go and sell tickets at shows. And because people will look past it, or they say they justify it. I'm not a fan of the musician. I don't like him, but I love the way he plays guitar, and I don't care that he murdered a bunch of people. I love this music. And so if you'll elect a guy who has been, accused and allegedly, of dozens of women, and you can see him doing it, and he admits to it, and he gets elected, like, I think it's a matter of the bottom line, Waj, is a lot of people are okay with it. They're just okay with it. They will pay and still see no matter what they do. I mean, I
think Trump was right. He said, if you're famous, they'll let you get away with it.
Well, by letting you get away with it, it means, in this case, they'll pay to see you still.
Well, they'll vote for you. Or Trump's voters, they will literally pay him in his grift operations. He'll milk them for millions. They don't care. And I think, right, with Louis C.K., they're like, it's over. It's done with. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, as long as that person's entertaining enough, I will overlook whatever heinous action they did. Like Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's apparently tapped to direct Lethal Weapon 5, which should have ended after Lethal Weapon 3. But, like, it's, there are people like,
Well, there's a certain amount of truth to your talent can overcompensate for your crimes.
Like, Picasso was terrible with women. Terrible. Like, his women killed themselves afterwards. He was abusive, manipulative. Picasso, just atrocious. If you look at his history with women, he believed that they were his to devour and use up and throw away. That's how he treated them. And like the history of emotional abuse and his misogyny are rampant. But then you look at it, but like, it fueled his genius. So let us admire this Picasso painting. And then let us look past Mel Gibson's repeated anti-Semitic comments, because you know what? He was Mad Max. Was Mad Max.
Yeah. Well,
and then who gets to, and then you think, okay, here, how about this then? With that being said, then why did Al Franken resign?
Well,
should he have resigned?
I think it's case by case. I think that he looked at the situation and at that time he thought he had to resign, but when he regrets that. Of course, I think he's on the record.
Do you think he should have resigned in hindsight?
Do I think he should have?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes, because he definitely did things that were probably unbecoming of a senator. I think it's fair to say. But no, because I was able to look past it, because a lot of feminists I know were to get a larger thing done in this case. And I think that that's true of the people that we disdain too. Like, I'll look past a rapist if he's going to get me a judge that'll outlaw abortion. Is that right?
I mean, these are the reason why I ask these questions is like,
good question.
Since we're in the fight for our democracy right now, and you see Democrats coming to a fight with a pencil, and Republicans bring a bazooka and Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, you're like, why do we it's a question. Why self-destroy yourselves when the other side literally gets away with, like, Paul Gosar openly called for the destruction of Al-Aqsa last week. No one said anything. Scott Perry.
The open destruction of what?
Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Jerusalem.
I didn't know that.
No one said anything. Like, yeah. And we've already forgotten about Paul Gosar, advocating for the violence against AOC. We already forgot about Bobart. We already forgot that Donald Trump went on a massive anti-Semitic tirade. I predicted it would be over by the weekend. I was completely right. And there's no punishment whatsoever. Like, Matt Gaetz is being investigated for having sex with an underage woman, and transporting her across state lines. And then meanwhile, you see the majority like just kind of destroy themselves. But then the question then becomes, if we give up our moral standards, then what are we? But at the same time, if we cripple ourselves, these freaks get in power. So I don't know. Like, I'm just really curious who gets canceled, who doesn't, when to remove yourself, when to get a second chance. And it seemed to me if you're rich and powerful and you're famous, like we just give people passes. We're like, like R. Kelly. We all knew what R. Kelly was doing, man. But then everyone said, but he did Ignition and the remix is dope. And then you find out like the depth of his depravity.
Well,
like,
a great example too is Harvey Weinstein. I mean, Hollywood knew. They looked the other way. I mean, tons of people knew. I knew even. I mean, I'd heard things.
Oh, really? I
passed on. We were asked to interview him at Sirius XM by the president of the company. Scott Greenstein was close with him. He used to work at Miramax, and so he's like, I want Harvey Weinstein to do all the shows, and we said no. We said no because we had heard, my producer had a lot of integrity and had heard things that he. And I'd heard whispers, and we were just like, this guy, no, we wouldn't have him on because what the point is, people knew. You froze.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry, man.
No problem.
You were talking about Harvey Weinstein. My computer just fritzed.
Oh, good. I said we knew about Harvey Weinstein. That's how I ended. So, any news on the book? Any exciting news you're getting? Like, are people like blurbing as they read it? Because so many amazing quotes that you're putting out.
I mean, I got our mutual friend Jared Yates gave me a lovely, lovely kind of blurb and shout out and privately messaged me. He was very sincere. He read it and told me a lot about himself while he said it. So that's lovely. I got a whole bunch of people reading it right now. And then like this is the scary part. I got like apparently I'm going to find out after New Year's because apparently we all turn to slots here in America until like January 2nd.
Yeah.
And so apparently like the books are going out and then that's when I'll see if all these like critics and like, mainstream press that we've reached out to are going to like it or not. But what can you do, man? You put yourself out there. You tried your best. So far, there's been a lot of love, like consistently, like people have found it to be very surprisingly hilarious and poignant and like revealing. And like, I think when people keep saying the same adjectives and they're like really positive, it's not BS. It's like, it's not like I'm telling them what to say, right? I'm like, you tell me, and the same adjectives keep coming out. And I'm like, okay, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. Hilarious, revealing, blunt, witty, important, hopeful. And it's like, it's charting America's future through a very personal, specific narrative. But hopefully there's enough funny stories there that like, even Jared was like telling me, I hope he doesn't mind. He's like, I also wore husky pants. He's like, I also had a teacher who told me to get up in front of the class. Like these things that you take for granted. Let me put it this way. We sit there, we live our lives, and you're like, I'll just throw this story out there. Like, it's a throwaway, ordinary story. No one's going to relate to it, like husky pants. And then, I'll talk about politics. I think I'll make a brilliant, insightful point about politics. I'll make some parallels, and no one cares.
Husky pants.
Like, hey, man, husky pants. That's what connected me with you. I'm like, listen, if husky pants is going to be the sweetened medicine that allows you to take it all in, I'll lead with husky pants. So that's what I'm like. That's what's really interesting is like, these stories and these personal stories and humor, it's what's allowing a lot of people who otherwise had these impressions or assumptions about me or might not agree with me on politics or religion, go along for the entire ride.
I love it. I love it. Go back to where you came from and other helpful recommendations on how to become American. It's out officially January 25th. And I just wanted to ask, every time I talk to you, just how you're feeling as the release date gets closer. It's very, very exciting. You worked so hard on this, and it is an amazing, amazing, thoughtful, original book. Have you been on Laura Coates' show? Do you know Laura?
I do know Laura. Laura sent me her book, which I'm going to promote. I've been on her show. I was like one of her first guests when it first came out, but I'm going to email her shamelessly and say, hey, let me come on your show to promote your book, and I'll promote your book on your show, and you promote my book on your show. That's how I'm going to pitch it.
Yes. Great idea. Well, very exciting for you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So lately, over at the Daily Beast, where you're a columnist, you've been writing. Well, I wanted to ask you about the piece you wrote like a week ago or so. We know Republicans hate Muslims. Do Democrats care? This, of course, is in reference to what happened with the threats to Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and how it was, obviously handled by Republicans or not handled by Republicans, much less Democrats. What's the issue?
I mean, this is the thing, man. I think The answer is they tolerate us. And I'm not just saying that as to be like a knee-jerk sensitive Muslim. You look at what happened to Ilhan Omar, right? For the listeners, just a quick recap. Lauren Boebert comes up with a bullshit, hateful story, mocking her. She does like a yuck stand-up routine in front of donors where she lies about allegedly seeing Ilhan Omar in an elevator, and she goes, at least she didn't have a backpack. Get it? Because she's not a suicide bomber. Marjorie Taylor Greene doubles down. Boebert doesn't apologize. Scott Perry doubles down, calls Ilhan Omar the anti-Semite. And the Republican Party doesn't condemn her, just like they don't condemn Paul Gosar. Ilhan Omar gets these vile death threats, in addition to all the vile death threats that she gets. Progressives in the House say, listen, we need a strong stance, because when you attack Ilhan Omar, this is what listeners need to realize. When you attack Ilhan Omar, she stands as an avatar for the rest of us. Black woman, wears a hijab, Muslim, refugee, which is why she is often deliberately and strategically used as a human pinata by Trump and the GOP. Remember, he said, go back to where you come from. That's what he said, which is a stand-in for the rest of us, including Wajahat, even he was born and raised here, and everyone else go back. And so when Pelosi passes this bill condemning Islamophobia, but doesn't strip Boebert from her committees, even though Democrats have the power, the question is why? And on the DL, what we found out is because Pelosi doesn't want this in the news. Specifically, Pelosi doesn't want Omar in the news. Specifically, Democrats, those moderate Democrats, don't want to align themselves with Omar publicly because she's seen as kryptonite. So what Pelosi said is, I'm going to punt this to Republican leadership. We're too busy doing other stuff. But I'm like, Pelosi, they're not going to do anything. So when you punt this problem, what you're saying is, we don't want to deal with Islamophobia because we're terrified our association with Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib is going to woo away Chad and Travis and Karen in the Rust Belt. And we so desperately want their Rust Belt coffee and their votes. But for the rest of us, it's like, if Ilhan Omar said this against Boebert's Christianity or Schumer's Judaism, what would Democrats do? I didn't even say Republicans. What would Democrats do? They would throw her under the bus, reverse the bus, forward the bus, and sell her carcass on eBay. And that's where I'm at right now, especially with Islamophobia and anti-Semitism rising, mainstreamed, unchecked.
Damn. How do you know that about the strategy there, the inside information with...
Well, because Politico had some pieces on it. There was some reporting. And because Ayanna Pressley, AOC, and others were like putting it out there, and look what happened. They're like, nope, we're going to forget about it. It's forgotten. And not only is that forgotten, Trump's rampant anti-Semitism. I'm going to write about this tonight. Like, why does America not care about the GOP's anti-Semitism? Like Trump last week, we've totally forgotten, openly said that Israel used to control Congress. Jews no longer love Israel. This is in addition to all the horrible stuff he's already said, right? Like, you rich Jews, I don't need your money. He refers to Israel as American Jews' country. He talks about rich bankers. They use the word globalist. They use replacement theory. A piece just came out yesterday talking about how QAnon is now mainstream in the Republican Party, and now they have Q devotees running for Congress, like 40, or for elected officials. Q is a domestic terror threat, according to the FBI. Yeah. And the Q says that Jews are a cabal that control the blacks, Muslims, and Muslims to overtake and replace Western Christianity, and it's radicalized violent extremists and killers. So, like, I'm trying to sit here and be like, yo, it's not just me as a Muslim telling you that anti-Muslim bigotry is real. Anti-Muslim bigotry and Islam anti-Semitism are fueling white supremacy. That is the number one domestic terror threat. And these talking points are being mainstreamed and laundered by the GOP. And how come no one gives a shit? Like, my mind is blown here. Maybe I'm crazy.
I don't think so. You've got this well thought out. You've written about it. You've thought about it. And unfortunately, I think it's pretty accurate. As unfortunately, I think you often have been, because, it's hard to for me, it's hard to dismiss your views and your lived experience and what you see. And I always have to remind myself when I hear you talking, make an argument, when I'm like, I'm not so sure if that's true. I'm like, it's his lived experience, and it's the lived experience of a lot of people. And so it's easy to dismiss when you don't feel it and see it the way that you can't avoid because of who you are. I mean, like, for you, for example, specifically, so people understand what I'm saying, like, you're constantly getting hatred.
All the time. Very helpful advice to go back to where I came from, or to go fuck a goat or a camel. Yeah. And like I always say on your show, I'm really offended that they only limited me to 2 animals.
Who are you more attracted to?
A camel is more loyal, but I respect the goat's like a hard get. I feel like, if you can tame a goat, don't you feel like You know, it's like it's like the high school cheerleader who dismisses you. Like, I feel like, it's like if I'm being like a little bit masochistic, I'll go for the goat. And if I'm looking for the easy win, the camel.
Well, that's thoughtful. Clearly, you've thought about it for a long time.
But 4 legs good, 2 legs good. That's what I say.
I mean, I thought the answer was easily camel, but I guess you've thought about it.
Well, that's just because you're racist and you associate me with a camel, even though my family's from Pakistan.
No. To be clear, I was saying who I was more attracted to.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Yeah,
I think a camel. You got the nice bald sheen. I think the camel, the camel would be like, maybe one of my peoples.
Let me just ask you before you go about the way forward with Joe Manchin. What are your thoughts on that? Or if you want to talk about the Omicron variant, which I know you love.
Let's talk about both. So my wife's a doctor. I was telling you right before we started taping. My wife's a family medicine doctor. She's a professor. She's been on top of the dude. My wife was on top of COVID before COVID became a thing, a month before. She straight up warned me like January 2 years ago. She goes, "This is going to be a big thing. America's underprepared. It's going to be massive. It's going to spread." And even then, I was like, I believe you, but I think you're getting ahead of it. She goes, "Nope, just wait 1 month." And she was right. With Omicron, she goes, "I'm worried this surge will last beyond the new year. You might have to cancel your book tour in a month. America is a crazy, self-destructive country. Doctors are pissed off." She's telling me stories of doctors of how they talk like on WhatsApp and like, dude, they're getting radicalized. The doctors, literally, she said, one doctor said this: "I'm sick and tired of missing another Christmas because unvaccinated people don't give a shit. We should have a separate hospital for unvaccinated people, unvaccinated doctors, unvaccinated nurses. And instead of vaccines, they should get Regeneron and horse paste." Like, that's where we're at right now. And the hospitals, which were overwhelmed, are currently overwhelmed without the Omicron surge that's coming in a week. So she's like, I think things are going to get canceled. I think we should do like at-home schooling. I think like what New York's doing is wise. And the unvaccinated are going to get screwed. And this thing is everywhere. That's what my wife says about Omicron. So I don't want to leave that on a dour note, but for those who are listening, take care of yourselves, get vaccinated, get boosted, avoid close public spaces. And dude, I've been masking. I like this. This is what bothers me about the CDC and like some of these politicians who jump ahead of the gun. They're like, "No, throw away your mask. You don't need it anymore." I'm like, really? I don't know about that.
Yeah,
you're double vax. Go out. Don't care. And I'm like, now we're seeing that friggin' Omicron's everywhere.
Yeah, I try to follow the experts as much as I can, whoever they are. I talk to them on a regular basis. I did get to a point after my booster where I stopped wearing a mask inside stores. I wouldn't talk to people. I wouldn't, try to be near people, but I didn't go out that much also. But then I started working out at this gym. And again, I wouldn't wear a mask at the gym because I felt safe. I felt safe. But that's all changed. And the last week, I haven't done anything. And I ordered N95s because not only am I going to wear a mask, I was out of the good ones. And so like I
was the only one at my gym consistently who's been wearing a mask. The only one.
That's impressive.
But like, it made me feel like a freak. Like, honestly, like about a month ago, you're right. I'm like, I'm double vaxxed. I got boosted. Yeah. Omicron isn't here yet. Like, am I being a freak? And I'm like, nope, better be safe. Like, it doesn't hurt. Like, I mean, it's annoying, but I'm not hurting anyone by wearing a mask. That's the
point. Like, the point is, and given your family situation with your daughter and everything, but the point is, like, anybody's entitled to be as safe as they want. Right. It bothers you if you love that person and they won't come over because they're being so safe, but they're entitled to that. But then my point simply is, but I'll adapt. I look at the numbers. I try to, you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I try to make rational decisions. I'm watching what's happening like everybody else. And I'm saying, we're not going to be doing a bunch of things with a bunch of people. And if I have to, I'm wearing the best kind of mask. And, I'm adapting. My point is, we need to be able to adapt, and people just want to be over it. It's not done with us. And we have to keep.
I heard that from someone. I'm so over coronavirus. I'm like, hey, coronavirus ain't over you.
Yep.
You might be done with it, but you know what? The rest of us have to survive. And to tie it to Manchin, as you were saying, just think about the cruelty of this rich white men in this country. Like Manchin, I rarely swear, but I was looking at him and his quotes and what he said. I'm like, this motherfucker, man. This guy strung along Biden, strung along Democrats, bad faith arguments. Apparently he got triggered by an aide, so he killed this $2 trillion package that will help so many families that are struggling. The way he thinks about those receiving child tax credits, which has lifted so many people out of poverty, is that apparently they're going to just go get drugs And if you do paid parental leave, the hunters in West Virginia are going to use that to hunt. I'm like, what the? That's a rich man who drives a Maserati and lives on a house yacht in one of the poorest states in America. But that could be a rich man anywhere. Completely
his yacht isn't in the poorest state. His yacht's in D.C., but yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. The yacht's in D.C. He has a Maserati, but he comes from the poorest state. He's a multimillionaire. He probably makes love to coal every night. His daughter's a millionaire. His wife's a millionaire. His son's a millionaire. Exxon lobbyists bragged openly that they got him in the bag. And it just shows you the cruelty of the rich, man. Like I said before, the rich are their own tribe, regardless of color or ethnicity or politics. And Manchin is the proof of it. Just doesn't give a shit.
What do you make of the criticism that some people have said, of people like you and me to some extent? Don't be mean to Joe Manchin. I know you hate him, but we need him.
Pressure works, man. Well, let me put it this way. Has sweet talking him worked?
Yes.
That's what I say. Has the alternative worked?
Worked for him.
No. LBJ, this man. LBJ, FDR, they took out the stick behind the scenes. They threatened, they cajoled, they used harsh language. Biden's got to beat his ass behind the scenes.
Now he does. Now I think that, he even believes that. It seems like that's what
that White House statement, good for him that he said that. And, Manchin's like, threatens to go Republican. Go Republican, mother effer. Fine. You're already Republican right now. What I said what they should do is the following. They don't care about poor people, but they love money, right? Goldman Sachs came out with an estimate that's saying that BBB tanking is going to hurt the economy.
Yeah.
Don't use Goldman Sachs. Say, experts are saying that Joe Manchin and the 50 Republicans who are tanking paid parental leave, free pre-K, capping, insulin price, lowering prescription drugs is going to hurt you and the economy. Joe Manchin and the 50 Republicans, why are you trying to hurt the economy? And I would run ads nonstop. But Democrats bring a friggin' toothbrush to
but don't
a
we need him? Don't we need his vote on voting rights? And isn't that still possible to get?
All of it's still possible. But what I'm saying is, what I and others were saying is pressure him. Yeah, pressure him. You put pressure. The pressure is the only thing that got Sinema and Manchin to do the infrastructure. I
just don't know. I hear that, and I just don't know where the pressure lay. I don't know what they can do. You've had some hypotheticals. I just
message him, name him, threaten to take him away from some committees. Like, put this messaging in West Virginia. Directly tell West Virginia, why is Manchin doing this? Outsource it. You put pressure. And if Joe Manchin and those 50 Republicans are held responsible for the economy tanking and people realize what's up, you better believe they're going to turn around.
Yeah.
I hate saying this, but think like Trump sometimes. Trump would just go in front of a friggin' interview and just shit on Lindsey Graham. Like shit in his mouth. Right?
That one time, yeah. Yes, on Fox Business.
Yeah, so I'm perfectly fine with Biden having a senior moment and shitting in Manchin's mouth. I agree with what AOC said. You need to carry the stick, and if Manchin's gonna f you over, f Manchin. You're the president. 81 million people voted for you. Donald Trump created a bullshit national emergency to divert funds from the military for a wall that Mexico did not pay for and that is not built. Use your executive authority, man, and get things done.
Wajahat Ali, awesome as always. So great to talk to you. And thank you for wearing your best Khalid Sheikh Mohammed V-neck tonight, by the way.
Oh, yeah, look at
that. So much hair.
Let me do the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed just woke up in Pakistan as the FBI raided him and he realized he's F for life. Wait, ready?
I got to get a screenshot of that along with him. That would be horrible. That would help nobody, but still be hilarious for me. Thank you, my friend. I love you and I appreciate your friendship as always. Thanks.
As always, likewise.
All right. Wasn't it great? Isn't he always great? Very funny, very thoughtful, always excellent analysis and realist. And I love talking to him. At Wajahat Ali on Twitter, and go get his book right now. Go back to where you came from. So good, so funny, so poignant, and you will love it. And a great way to support him. Of course, let him know that you heard him here on Twitter. It always means a lot to me. Okay, now coming up, you're going to love my conversation with David Feldman. Dude is hilarious and eccentric and just a great sense of humor. And I love our conversations. But first, I do want to I got to tell you about Indeed.com, because if you are hiring someone to work at your gig, at your firm, at your company, you need a hiring partner that gets you what you really want, which, of course, is a short list of quality candidates. And you want it right now. You don't have time to wait. You can't do it all. You can't attract, interview, and hire, but you can at Indeed. Indeed is unbelievably powerful hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So stop struggling on your own to find a quality candidate. Indeed, they're going to help you. They're going to hold your hand and do it all in that one place to find the right people right now. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process so you can find talent with the skills you need through tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. And I've got listeners who have used Indeed. Frank Zarinsky is the founder and CEO of a media company in New Jersey, Motion City Media. And he emailed me and said, Indeed.com has done it again. Just wrapped up an interview with a gentleman named Adam that came to us through a paid Indeed ad. This guy is a total wow and would be perfect with Motion City Media. He's kind, compassionate about film, and we just can't wait to begin working with him. I'll give you an update in a few weeks once you get into the field. Frank, thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me know that you've actually used Indeed. That's very cool. Indeed makes it easier for star applicants to shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding. You just pick what skills are more important to you from over 135 assessments. Get a clear view of your talents, abilities faster. The perfect job candidate is looking for you, but until you use Indeed, you're not doing everything you can to look for them. How about that? Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/standup. That's right. We're giving you a $75 credit at Indeed.com/standup. Start your new year right. Go to Indeed.com/standup right now. Hurry. Offer is valid only till the end of the year, December 31st. Terms and conditions, I'm told to tell you, do apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. And the link to Indeed.com/standup is in the show notes, as well as all the other sponsors of the show. Thank you. All right, now it's time to get to the great David Feldman. Feldo! He's an award-winning comedian and writer and host of The David Feldman Show, which I've been a regular guest on. You should definitely subscribe and listen to that. He's written for Triumph, the Insult Comic Dog series on Hulu, and Maya and Marty on NBC. He's won 3 Primetime Emmys for comedy writing, as well as 4 Writers Guild Awards and a Cable Ace Award. In the past several years, he's written on Comedy Central Roast, Jeff Ross's The Burn, Joy Behar's Say Anything, and he also hosts a radio show with Ralph Nader for Pacifica. I mean, this guy has done everything he can do in comedy, including writing for Roseanne and Dennis Miller and Bill Maher and Comedy Central's The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and so much more. And I'm just so always happy when I get to have a conversation with him. You can follow him on Twitter at David_Feldman_. That's right. And you can get to his podcast there as well. It's time for David Feldman. All right, he was a huge hit the last time he joined us here on the program. People were raving about your last appearance. David Feldman, welcome back. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you. And people rave about your performance on my show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be in conversation with you. I always enjoy your perspective on literally anything at all. It's always good.
It's very kind of you to say that.
A lot going on in the world, and I'm wondering if, like a lot of other people, if the pandemic is ever going to end, if COVID's ever going to stop killing 1,200 people a day. And I wonder what your worldview, what is your outlook on the current state?
1,200, it's interesting, 1,200 a day, to put that into perspective. Think of 1,200 747s with one passenger crashing every day. That's what it's the equivalent of.
Yeah, there's only one person on each plane.
Picture how many people die each day. How many is it?
I mean, it's up to 1,200. I saw it latest, and I always see it.
1,200. Picture 1,200 747 jet airplanes with only one passenger crashing each day. That's what I guess that's not a good. I guess that doesn't work, does it? Well,
you can try to do any kind of imagery or metaphor or comparison, but I was thinking about that number. I think you and I might have talked about this, but like it's like we don't seem to be feeling that. You see a number, you're like, 1,200 people.
Right.
But it's a disease that's contagious, and there's a very simple thing to prevent it from killing you, and it's free, and yet it's just so much different than cancer or any kind of violence or terrorism or natural disaster. It seems to me it's just so unnecessary.
Yeah, I was making a joke about somebody on my show said it's the equivalent of like 3 747s crashing every day. And I wanted to say, no, how about, yeah. But
I mean, when you made the joke, I just worry about all those planes. What a waste. The whole 747 with just one person. You're not making a lot of money on that flight to begin with.
Well, imagine, so it's 1,200 people. Picture, it's about, I don't know, 400 comedy clubs that I'm playing with the highest attendance I've ever had in my career.
So there's like 15 people at every show.
I think it's 3 people.
Is it 3? You've done
what's the smallest number? What you'll perform in front of? Like you're doing stand up, and the club owner goes, "We only have X amount of people. If you want to call it, or I'll do it." But
depends on the size. Depends on the size of the room.
Yeah. Would you do a show in front of 2 people?
No. I would sit down with them and make them laugh. I once drove all the way to West Virginia for a college, and none of the students.
West Virginia?
They have 2.
Yeah. What are they, preschools?
No, the School of Mountaintop Removal is one of them. And the other one is just an AR-15. But I drove all the way down there, and none of the students showed up. And I sat there with like the student activities team, like 4 or 5 people, and I just chatted with them for an hour. I was like, "Can I go now? Can I still get paid?" They paid me, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I'll perform for 2 people. And the way I do it is I keep it very impersonal. I just do my act, and I don't make eye contact with them. I'm serious, because what it does is it puts the onus off them. They can just sit like, "All right, you came, 2 people. Here's my act." And about 20 minutes into it, they walk out. No, it's, they just, here's the act without any laughs. And don't worry. There weren't going to be laughs anyway.
What are your thoughts though on the? I want to ask you how you look at the pandemic and where we're at and how it's. Do you view it? Do you think about it? Do you get exhausted by it, or do you just?
I was talking about this yesterday. My parents survived World War II and the Depression, and our generation has not had something that imprints us that way. We were told that maybe 9/11 would be our Great Depression or our World War II, but only 1% of America served in, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. So this, because of its persistence, it's changing everything. There's before COVID and after. And even the people, the anti-maskers, the anti-vaxxers who say they're not changing, they're changing, even though they think they're not changing. This changes everything. It changes work. It changes how we look at each other. It changes the infantilization of the American citizenry. We were infants. We trusted our government and our president to take care of us. We trusted our boss. We don't trust anybody anymore. And something good will come from this, because it has to. Something good has to come out of all this suffering.
Do you have any idea what it might be?
How we look at our government, a more mature look at our government, a more mature look at capitalism. I think we're going to look at work. We already are looking at work. We're seeing it for the insanity it is. The idea that your self-worth is enshrined with your job, that you define yourself by how you make money. So I think COVID may actually save capitalism. I don't mean to trivialize the deaths of, 800,000 Americans?
Oh, probably a lot more than that. That's the official number, though, this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean to trivialize the deaths of about 250,000 Americans.
Why does it save?
I mean, what I'm saying is the deaths of so far I can't do the math. Let's just say 550,000 dead Americans from COVID. I would not trivialize, but there were about 250,000 Americans who died from COVID that I will trivialize, and I have their names if you'd like me to read them. I can do it alphabetically if you wish. I've been keeping score.
You got that list still.
I have a list.
Access, Feldman. You have all kinds of great access where they keep the names. So,
yeah, I mean, work is different already.
Yeah, I think one of the more interesting guests I had on this week was a young reporter at that news outlet, the 19th, that covers women's issues and stuff. And she wrote a piece about how the pandemic is changing men in terms of their role in their family and every responsibility that they have in the house with the kids and especially with work. Just as you're saying, within it's changing work and how we see it, changing, I think, how we see family. I mean, I kind of already knew this, which is why I made certain choices, but I was only reassured when I started working from home every day that I love being with my family most of all over any other thing in the world. So how can I do more of that and also work?
And some people, Catherine Liu, she wrote Virtue Hoarders. Have you had her on the show yet? You should have her
I don't think so.
Yeah, she says there's a certain person whose work is email. If your job is answering email, you can work anywhere. And not everybody is lucky enough to have that kind of job. But if your job is answering email, why do you have to be in an office? Why do you have to be in a big city? Why not move to, North Dakota? Why not move someplace where they could use better people? I'm thinking of moving to North Dakota because they could use better people.
Do you know the difference between North and South Dakota?
Well, no.
Yeah, that's because there isn't one. Same place. According, I think, to the vast majority of Americans who don't know anybody who lives in either state, I'm sure the differences are palpable and important to people who live in those two states. But just to the 99% of us who don't live there, I think it's like, I don't know. I haven't.
From outer space, North and South is arbitrary.
Yes, that's a good point.
So nothing. George McGovern came from I think, South Dakota. I think he was good.
Can I play something for you?
Sure.
And get your reaction to it?
Yeah, we're a little low key today. Have you noticed? It's Christmas. It's the Christmas week. There's a mellowness to this conversation that we usually don't have. I think it has something to do with it's Christmas week, which is.
I think it's that we're talking on Friday afternoon, and
right.
I don't know. I don't want to characterize it.
And I'm at a funeral, by the way.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I'm at a funeral, so it kind of.
Is that why you're dressed as like a security ad burglar?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I want you to hear. Okay, here it is. This is Donald Trump talking about the Jews and Israel. Here we go.
There's people in this country that are Jewish no longer love Israel. I'll tell you, the evangelical Christians love Israel more than the Jews in this country. It used to be that Israel had absolute power over Congress, and today I think it's the exact opposite. And I think Obama and Biden did that. And yet in the election, they still get a lot of votes from Jewish people, which tells you that the Jewish people, and I've said this for a long time, the Jewish people in the United States either don't like Israel or don't care about Israel. I mean, you look at the New York Times. The New York Times hates Israel, hates them. And they're Jewish people that run the New York Times. I mean, the Sulzberger family.
They're not Jewish. Sulzberger is not Jewish. He's Protestant.
Is that right?
Yep.
Oh, huh.
Their Jewish ancestors have the Sulzberger name, but the Sulzberger family, through intermarriage and stuff, the current Sulzbergers are Protestants.
What do you think about the content of what he said about Jewish American attitudes toward Israel?
Well, where do I start? Where do you start? It's the fascist playbook. It's divide and conquer. It's getting Jews to fight amongst themselves. 20% of Jews vote for Republicans. 80% vote for Democrats. 80% of Jews in America worry about Israel, but they worry that the situation with the Palestinians endangers the future of Israel. So I think I speak for 80% of the Jews in America.
Yeah.
And I'm not even Jewish or American, but I think most American Jews, 80%, are pretty savvy when it comes to Israel. And they know that we're an insufferable people who need a safe space. We need Israel just in case things get dangerous, as they always do. At the same time, we're citizens of the world, and we were in the same boat as the Palestinians. We know what it means to be dispossessed. Gaza is an open cesspool. It's a human rights violation. You can still love Israel, but be hypercritical of it. It's, I love America, but I don't believe in my country, right or wrong. I don't think you need to have this blind obedience and love for your country. So I'm very critical of Israel and the Likud party, or whoever this new iteration of the conservatives in Israel are. You can have a conversation in Israel about Israel that you can't have in America because the right wing, AIPAC, does a pretty good job at chilling speech about Israel and the United States. But there are other lobbyists like J Street, which is much more progressive and to the left and wants to actually solve the Palestinian problem, in a way other than putting them in an open air cesspool like Gaza. So Trump doesn't care about Israel. He doesn't care about the Jews. He's pretty savvy. For an idiot, he's pretty savvy. He knows how to divide and conquer. So he's going to create division that already exists among the Jews, the 80-20 split. There are ultra-Orthodox Jews who are not too bright. They read one book, maybe the Talmud, 2 books. They're not bright, and they're frightened and fearful, and they're not of this world. Right. They don't participate in the world, kind of like every religious fundamentalists. They're morons, so they vote for Trump, and they filter every issue through, is it good for Israel? And they're stupid because Trump is not good for Israel. Putting Palestinians in an open air sewer in Gaza is not good for Israel. The same way slavery was not good for America. And you were dealing with a very stupid part of the Jewish community, and Trump is a very stupid part of America. just real stupid, but raw genius. And he'll get a lot of Jews arguing about this. But I think I'd like to think we're not going to take the bait,
That's very well said, and it's a nuanced and thoughtful answer to what he is trying to do, which is what the first thing you said, which is divide and conquer with such simple, divisive language and layered with bullshit, when in fact attitudes are as I think you described. Well done, sir.
I think the Middle East it's not complicated. We don't live there. American Jews don't live there. And trying to explain the geography is like trying to explain Brooklyn versus the Bronx. Like, you can tell the difference between somebody who grew up in Brooklyn and somebody who grew up in the Bronx. But it takes decades of experience to understand the neighborhoods, the dialects, the personalities. To unravel what's going on in Israel is very difficult. The Middle East is very difficult because it's neighborhoods, it's ethnic neighborhoods, it's religious neighborhoods, it's racial neighborhoods. Basic human decency is how you don't need to understand everything. You just need to have basic human decency and know right from wrong. When you see open air sewers in Gaza, you don't need to speak the language. You don't need to be Christian, Jewish, Muslim. You know that this is wrong. Fix it. And it can be fixed. And I do believe that a Biden administration or a Bernie Sanders administration would have nudged the Israeli government into figuring it out. They don't have to. Israel doesn't have to figure it out as long as you have an American government they're not being coddled. They're just not being challenged.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like the Biden.
I didn't give you a funny answer, though.
What?
I apologize. I wasn't funny.
Oh, no, I like that answer. I don't care if it's funny or not. You be funny when you want to be and serious when you want to be. I don't care. I'm just happy to have you. I like the way your voice sounds. It relaxes me.
Right. I was making a jerking off motion, by the way, throughout that entire speech. Visually, I was hysterical.
I know. I thought you were having a seizure. I was like, why is he doing that? While talking about a very sensitive issue in the Middle East. Let's ask a lighter question.
I'll go heavy. I like heavy questions. It's the holiday season.
Well, I was going to ask you about the holiday season. What do you love and hate about this time of year? I mean, you're a New Yorker, so that urban setting is much different than the suburban or rural setting of many folks probably listening, or most folks in the world. I think that changes the game regardless of the holiday.
Honestly, again, I feel obligated to be funny, but honestly, this is the first time since I can remember where I'm truly getting into the holiday spirit.
Oh, why?
Because.
And how is that defined? Like, what does it mean to get into the holiday spirit? Are you?
Because everything really has slowed down. There is, you get a sense that people, the rat rate, this is just, and it's all perception, but so this is my perception, and the people I surround myself with are staying home because of was it Omicron?
Yeah.
People are terrified, so they're staying home. There isn't this mad rush to buy shit that you don't need. There aren't these Christmas parties that you have to go to. It's just, this is at my age, it's just slower, and I just find I'm much more mellow. It's the first mellow Christmas season. Last year, it was different. It was because it was our first COVID Christmas. This year, it's okay, I'm going to live a quiet, it's just going to be quiet and mellow, which is the way Christmas should be.
According to you, I mean, some people love that bustle and hustle and going from party to party, I suppose. I don't know. I like going to some parties, Christmas party. There's a couple specific Christmas parties that I would sometimes go to from year to year that I would enjoy. I would really enjoy in a way. But I also see what you're saying and thoroughly enjoy that too.
Yeah, I mean, I like unplugging.
Yeah,
that's my idea of relaxing and having to be someplace and having to get gifts and being around drunks, and some people get aggressive. I mean, I always say during the holiday seasons, one of my refrains is they're coming for me. They're looking for a fight. I don't know if you have these kind of people in your life, but around this time of year, there are people who are circling like vultures with boxing gloves who are looking for a fight because instead of being sad, they choose to be mad.
Yes.
There's a certain type of person who cannot be sad or mellow. They're addicted to adrenaline. And
I'm thinking of I'm thinking of men this whole time you're describing. Do women this way as well, do you think?
I think, yes. People I'm a lightning rod for people want to attack me in my personal life because I think they think I'm strong enough that I can take it. And I tend to I'm on the receiving end of a lot of hostility because people want to be mad instead of sad. So they wait for me to say something or they remember something I didn't do and they attack me.
Do you think that aging makes you more set in your ways and makes it harder for you to deal with and understand younger people and have conversations with them? Are you automatically, quote, set in your ways and won't change the older you get?
I think that's a pitfall.
Because I want to believe that I'm going to, I feel like I've evolved and adapted with my girls and always met them wherever they were at in terms of attitudes, communication, humor. And I want to believe that if I live to be an old man, that won't change and I won't have issues with them as a result, But I think, what is your answer? I'm sorry.
No, that's great. I think as I get older, the two things I try to avoid is one, being a victim of my own expertise.
What does that mean?
And thinking I know what I really don't know or blocking out what I should know. That's one thing. I don't want to be a victim of my own expertise. And two, massive strokes. I think as you get older, you should really try to avoid a massive, debilitating stroke.
Well, you eat like a really well, don't you? Aren't you like a really healthy person?
I'm a vegan.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. Because kosher wasn't annoying enough. So when you go out to dinner with me, I can ruin the whole meal.
Yeah.
I will. And I do it. I'm a vegan because I want people to go out to dinner with me and I can take the moral high ground while disgusting. Like I can have you be disgusted by what's in front of you. I can tell you everything that's wrong with what you're putting in your mouth.
Right.
I delight in that.
Is cheese very, very divisive for you? Is that the thing that people settle on going, listen, I couldn't go without cheese, and then cheese becomes a big, because that's the hill to die on for me, I think.
Sure. Because you like the idea of babies being ripped from a mother cow and then slaughtered as veal. And then the mother stands on her 4 feet all day, just having her udders squeezed until she just shrivels up and becomes a raisin so you can have your cheese. Cheese, in many ways, is crueler than beef because at least you stun the cow, kill it, and make a steak. You take it out of the misery that's being inflicted by big ag. But dairy, it's just ongoing torture of the cow. These milking machines, and you're on your feet all day giving milk until you're of no use, and then you're just slaughtered. I mean, it's dairy, cheese, much crueler than steak.
I also love yogurt.
Oh, the bacteria alone. It's torture because they don't die. Here's the thing. It's like the space shuttle. They didn't want us to know that, without going into detail, the big secret with the Challenger explosion that they didn't want us to know was that they lived all the way down to the ocean. We like to think that when the shuttle exploded, that they died instantly, but it was a long, slow, torturous death. And that's what happens to the bacteria in yogurt. You think just because you put it in your mouth, it dies. No, it knows it's being chewed, but it stays alive and goes down your gullet into your stomach, where it mingles with your gut biome, and it's a fight to the death with your gut biome. That's what yogurt goes through. It's really cruel. Yogurt is very cruel to the probiotics in it. It's really cruel.
But
enjoy. You go ahead. Go ahead. If you can live with 3 million probiotics being tortured in your gut, go right ahead.
The Challenger imagery really did do a number on me there.
Yeah, but you didn't know that they were aware and alive the way down, right?
How could anybody know that?
Because they kept it a secret. And that's the same thing with yogurt. Those live, the acidophilus, all that stuff that's alive.
Yeah.
Once it goes into your mouth, it doesn't die. It just knows it's about to die. It's really cruel to acidophilus.
Are you serious about the Challenger thing?
I'm always serious.
Oh, my computer just answered me. Is that really is that the truth?
That's true, yeah.
Huh, I'm looking that up right now.
Everything I say could be true. I just want you to know that.
That's fair. I appreciate you.
Everything I say could be true. No, it is true.
I want to ask you a couple of other questions, David Feldman.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you think the January 6th Commission investigation, do you think that's been effective?
I'm of two minds. I think we know what happened. I think that we need an attorney general to make the arrests, but I don't think he's going to arrest some of the people like Mark Meadows and Roger Stone. The Justice Department is not going to arrest the people who, at the very least, were negligent. They may not have known they were contributing to the insurrection, but I think there were a lot of people on the ellipse that day who contributed to the insurrection. So, yes, I think there should be an investigation. I wish the Justice Department was just started making more arrests. They seem to be making some arrests. I think 500 people have been arrested. Unfortunately, because of the Democratic Party, this will be the issue going into 2022. We won't have Build Back Better. We won't have any bills that provide a social safety net for the American people. This week, we lose the eviction moratorium and the child tax credit. That's gone. We're going into 2022 with Omicron So what do the Democrats have to run on? I don't know. I guess Trump is worse. So if they focus on January 6th, they can scare people into voting for a Democrat in November of 2022. It would be nice for the Democrats to run on a social safety net, but that's not in the cards. Thanks to Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, and a feckless president and speaker, majority leader.
You think Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are feckless?
I do. I don't think they know. I don't think they care about the 99%. I don't think the Republicans are very specific on what they want. The Democrats in charge don't want anything other than power and money. But they don't stand for the 99%. They don't have a full-throated endorsement of unions, of labor, of the working folk, or the poor. You couldn't even get Biden to tell the workers in Bessemer to vote for a union. He waited. Amazon was holding the elections for a union in Bessemer earlier this year. Biden waited till most of the votes were cast, and it was a really cagey, you have the right to vote against or for a union.
My view is not as cynical.
Okay. Bernie would have said vote for a union.
Well, feckless, they cutting child poverty in half and, making healthcare a lot more affordable for a lot of people. And I feel like they deserve credit for that. And I also, think that as far as the organized labor stuff, I think there's a lot of criticism to be levied, of course, against Democrats for being hypocrites and not showing as much support. Although I think that's changing. And in the bills, they create all kinds of stipulations for union jobs in several different industries, from manufacturing to, construction.
You're talking about the bipartisan bill that got passed.
No, I mean yes, and it is as well. I don't know about the organized labor stipulations, but certainly Build Back Better has a lot of that.
Right, and Build Back Better is not going to get a floor vote.
Well, we don't know. Maybe you may be right, but I don't think that the House passed it, so you can't say Nancy Pelosi is feckless. They passed it.
What was in it was like even paid family leave is a love letter to the insurance companies.
I hear you, but unfortunately, we've got the United States Senate as but that's, I don't know. Nobody ever can help me or convince me that there's much that can be done by specific politicians or even coalitions within Congress to persuade Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema.
Right.
I don't.
Well, first, let me just address a couple of things. One is the $300 a month payment to kids that expires, right? Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah, well, it may or may not. It may be renewed, but they passed it. Like, they did it, and it's a major achievement. And I agree if it's
$300 a month.
I think it's more. I think it's $500. But
well, if it's $500, that might lift a kid out of poverty.
Well, I could be wrong, but the people that I see that work in nonprofits that champion, that are anti-poverty folks have talked about how big of a deal this is. So if they're saying it, who am I to?
Right. And I'm against charities, right?
You're you're pro-poverty, aren't you?
No, I'm against charities.
Well, I am too. Listen, I'm against charities too in a different world where we would have a different economic system. With the economic system and tax structure that we have, we need them. It would be great to not have an incentive for charitable giving, but actual taxes that redistributed wealth, if that's what you're saying, if that's what your criticism is. But we don't have that, so we need the charities, unfortunately.
Right. But most of these charities have administrative fees as high as 50%.
Which is why one of my sponsors is GiveWell.
What is GiveWell?
GiveWell.org, which distributes they direct you to charities that your dollar goes the furthest in actually saving lives. I mean, it's based on, I'm sure you know Peter Singer, Effective Altruism. It's based on his entire philosophical belief that you should get money to kids that are dying of malaria, and you should get, and they do all the research on the charities. They're great. GiveWell.org/stand up, folks.
By the way, when I say I'm against charity, I just mean I'm very greedy and I don't like to part with my money.
Oh,
that's all.
I thought you meant you didn't like nonprofits themselves.
No. There are worthy charities, obviously, but the fact that we need charities, as you just pointed out, is an indictment of our government, because the government disperses the money more efficiently with more transparency than any charity imaginable. Nobody gets $1 million a year working for the United States government, but these charities, a lot of these charities, pay their CEOs of these nonprofits $1 million. And then you look at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's been trying to give away $60 billion for 20 years, and he just can't seem to do it. The endowment is growing.
I don't know. I think the way I described it is the issue. But then again, I don't know about the countries with the strongest social safety nets and welfare states, if you will. Like, they still, I'm sure, have plenty of charities. I mean, there's probably still a place for charitable giving, but it's not democratic also, is what you're saying. Like, if a billionaire decides that they want to donate a whole bunch of money, it shouldn't be up to the billionaire. It should be up to the community to decide. The taxes should be democratic, as democratic as possible. That's what you're saying. Not up to Jeff Bezos, but up to the people of the citizens.
And why is Jeff Bezos doesn't pay taxes? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he borrows money. His spending cash is borrowed. Yeah, I've read all about that whole. That's what you do when you're super wealthy.
And
apparently.
then he sells stock and gives it to charity. That's not. He owes the government money. He should not decide who's worthy of charity and who's not unilaterally. But people should give. Like, I believe in the Make-A-Wish Foundation. There are worthy charities. Go to Charity Navigator and download the tax returns, like NPR. This guy, Neil Shapiro, who runs WNET, makes $1 million a year to run some shitty local PBS station that runs advertisements, gets corporate underwriting, and then asks us to donate so he can collect $1 million a year as the CEO.
Yeah, and that is that's a necessary part of being the CEO of nonprofits too, because they're competitive, and those executives, you want to have quality executives. If you got to play the game, you got to have players in the game, is a phrase I just came up with. I would like to play something for you. One more thing, and then I'll let you go. You mentioned Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yes.
And that's the charity most people know what that is, and
I read the ProPublica. I still think they're a good organization.
Oh, I don't know about an investigation into them. I don't know about that. But I have a clip of a guy going crazy about Make-A-Wish. He is insinuating that Make-A-Wish turned a child's wish away because he was unvaccinated. And the whole thing has got to be a farce, because the guy says the kid's 4 and they turn him away because he's unvaccinated. But of course, kids that young aren't even allowed to get vaccinated, so that can't be a thing. But there's something very funny in it, David Feldman. He says he makes threats, but at one point he says he can't do anything about it because he's busy this coming. Here it is. Let's play.
I just want to correct one thing.
Yeah.
Can I correct one thing?
Yeah.
ProPublica wrote about St. Jude's, not Make-A-Wish.
Oh, okay.
Money to St. Jude's, despite the ProPublica.
I can't believe that these things are actually happening to our fucking country. I got a message from a friend of mine here on Staten Island. His 4-year-old kid, his ill 4-year-old kid, was refused by the Make-A-Wish Foundation for his fucking wish because he's not vaccinated at 4 fucking years old. You fucking people succumb to this fucking bullshit with this 99.7% survival rate fucking bullshit fucking virus. You should be ashamed of yourself. The Make-A-Wish. Let me tell you something, Make-A-Wish Foundation. You're gonna fucking wish that you never fucking made this decision. Come this week, after this weekend, I got shit to do. Next week, we're gonna do something for this fucking kid, okay? And we're gonna let the Make-A-Wish Foundation wish that they never made this fucking decision. You fucking idiots.
Is that dice?
No, but it's the third or fourth time I've watched it, and I'm sometimes at this point, reality is so blurred. I'm like, is this a parody? But I think it's real. I think he really.
It's real.
You think it's real?
Staten Island. It's Staten Island.
Yeah,
it's real. That's
this weekend. I can't do anything about it.
Right.
I can't kick anybody's asses, commit any kind of terrorist attack on your nonprofit this weekend because my kid's got a thing.
Yeah, it's well researched too. A friend of his told him about this.
Yes. Yeah, that's like the friend who told you like half the Navy SEALs are quitting because they're not vaccinated or whatever. I remember that one. And then like a bunch of media outlets like ran with it. Like, no, that's not. Nobody's quitting. I think like the Navy lost like 20, the National Guard, somebody lost like 27 people that didn't get vaccinated. I love that the Department of Defense is just like, sorry, you're fired.
Right. It's a great idea because it weeds out. If you don't want to get vaccinated, good. Now we know who we need to get rid of. Perfect.
But they're just going off and joining the Michigan militia. They're angry now. It's like when we disarmed Saddam's military. Maybe we should have let them stay. Maybe they're going to go make their own army now.
They believe in guns, but not vaccines.
All right. Well, Feldman, I've got to go pick up my daughter at the gym. How about that? She works out at the gym.
And you're going to be on MSNBC.
And tonight I'm scheduled to be on MSNBC, but, you never know. You never know, right? They could bump you. Yeah, that's happening.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm, because the anchor is Jason Johnson, who's a good buddy of mine. He's in for Ari Melber, and it just shows you, when certain people are in, you're going to get the call versus other people. Not that Ari Melber, I don't know, man. I know Ari, but it's great. I'm excited to join him. It'll be good for this is the week of my 500th episode of the podcast. So we're celebrating.
Total 500 total episodes.
Started going daily. I did 3 days a week for about 6 months. And I started going daily when the pandemic broke out. So March 2020, and so yeah, I do one every day.
Well, I love you, buddy.
I love you. Thanks for joining me. I love talking to you about anything.
Thank you. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you, sir. Well, there you go. That's the Thursday show. I hope to see you tonight at our hangout on Zoom. You can get that link if you're a subscriber and part of our community. If not, then join. Do now. StandUpWithPete.com. StandUpWithPete.com. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic, and all of the rest of the links to follow me on social media, etc. in the show notes every day. Thank you very much, David Feldman. That was a wonderful conversation. I really enjoy our conversations. They're always fun. You always make me think. You always make me laugh. And you're always original. And as always, the great Wajahat Ali is thank you as well, buddy. Such a great conversation every time, and such a great friend and a regular guest. So please thank them and check out the sponsor. Just go to the link, Indeed.com/standup. Just type that in and I'll get credit for the traffic, whether or not you use any of the sponsors. Always great to just put the link in, click on it, and get the numbers, So it's just another way to support the show. Also, apparently, you can write reviews on Spotify. Those of you listen on Spotify, go over there and write a review of the show. If you've written one on iTunes, I don't know if you can find it. Copy and paste it. Put it over there as well. Go check it out. That's super helpful. I need reviews on Spotify. Feed me. All right, folks. Thanks again for your support and your patience. That I didn't get a show up on Wednesday. I feel bad about that, but it was a healthy choice. So maybe I don't. Maybe I feel good about it. It was a good choice. You should make it too. Hope to see you tonight, and I will talk to you tomorrow right here on Stand Up for a very special Christmas Eve show. I'm just kidding. It's not going to be special. It's just a normal show. All right, Jon Carroll, take us out, my brother.
they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up. Stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up. They had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.